and Fox Sports Ohio's coverage of the National Hockey League. Tonight, the Columbus Blue Jackets in their fifth and final meeting with the Philadelphia Flyers. We are standing on the Independence Mall in Philadelphia. Behind me is Independence Hall. In that building, which was built in 1753, the U.S. Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution were both adopted. On the ice, the Blue Jackets tonight hoping for their second win in 5 days over the Flyers, while the home team, Philadelphia, looking for points in its 10th consecutive game. We'll go there now and check in with our students, Jeff Rimmer and Jody Shelley, both Canadian by birth. Guys, did you learn something here?
Well, actually, Dave, Jody and I last spring, when it was a lot warmer, did our own tour of the city. But thank you anyway. And the Jackets hope to certainly look ahead to this one here tonight, the fifth and final meeting, Jody. And the Jackets look for a fourth victory in the five-game series with the Philadelphia Flyers. And without Nick Foligno tonight, they're looking for the leadership of Brandon Dubinsky, who's riding a goal-scoring streak and maybe playing his best hockey of the year right now.
I couldn't agree with it more. Brandon Dubinsky came back December 9th against the Philadelphia Flyers, and it's been 2 months since then, and I think about 2 weeks ago, Brandon Dubinsky really stepped up his game. Now, not his fault. You think about the surgery, double hernia surgery. That takes time to get back, get rhythm, get those muscles right. This was the first goal of the game at home. First goal for the Blue Jackets at home. Got the crowd into it. He's playing really well in front of the net. He's making plays. He's creating. He seems to be skating better. And it's great to see Brandon Dubinsky when he's got that energy and that pep in his step.
Well, how about Scotty Hartnell? He seems to be honored pretty well each and every night. And guess what? He's going to be honored again here tonight. But more on that a little bit later on. He is riding a career-high 6 games point streak, Jody. And, in fact, that is the current longest active streak alongside San Jose's Logan Couture.
I didn't know that, and that's great for Scotty Hartnell and great for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yeah, it's been a heck of a 2 weeks for Scotty Hartnell. Played his thousandth game at home, and then he gets honored at home against the Flyers, and now here tonight, they're going to honor him again. And he's just, I don't know, there's something about him. He's got something in his eye. He's extra focused on the ice. You see him off the ice. It's like he's got something to prove. You got to feel great for him. He had a great last week having his friends and family in town. And Scotty Hartnell just wants to have this team win, especially when he plays against the Philadelphia Flyers.
All right, how about those Philadelphia Flyers? They're the only team in the National Hockey League that has not lost in regulation since the All-Star break. They've got points in 9 straight. And leading the way is Wayne Simmonds, who has 5 goals and an equal number of assists in those 9 games.
Well, how about Wayne Simmonds, the last game in Columbus? 2 goals. He was on fire. He actually put the Flyers on his back. Really one of the players that jumped off the ice. He goes to the tough areas. He'll fight. He battles. He's got a finish to his game and that quick release. And I'll tell you what, his speed, when he gets going to get those legs moving, I'll tell you what, he's tough to beat. Look out for Wayne Simmonds. He's that big guy, that tough guy, that guy that can play those hard minutes. And
to put it bluntly, why they've needed the offensive heroics of Wayne Simmonds, Jody, because the high-scoring duo of Claude Giroux, their team captain, and Jake Voracek, the former Blue Jacket, all of a sudden they've run dry.
Yeah, I don't know what's gone on, but since the All-Star break, these guys not producing at the same level. They were producing at an awful high clip before that, but they've gone dry. And if you think about the second part of the season, very defensive-minded. Every team is playing that way. They're going to be checked harder. I know the Blue Jackets are going to lay Jack Johnson and David Savard on them as much as they can. So Giroux and Voracek know that. They're up for the task. But someone has got their number. Most teams have got their number, and that's a good sign. But the Blue Jackets have got to stay on top of these guys. Can't take anything away from their speed and their skill. They're dangerous players, especially on the power play. But 5-on-5, take care of business and stay out of the box.
So again, this is the fifth and final meeting between these two teams. The Jackets have won 3 of the first 4. Columbus, Philadelphia bring the curtain down on their season series here at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia next. Columbus Blue Jackets hockey on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by First Financial Bank. Another step on the path to success. By IGS Energy. Take control of your natural gas and energy costs and enroll today at IGSenergy.com. And by Nationwide. At Nationwide, we put members first. To find a local agent, visit Nationwide.com. Nationwide is on your side. Blue Jackets tonight from the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, PA. The Blue Jackets and the Flyers. After a night off Saturday on Long Island, Curtis McElhinney back between the pipes tonight. 7-3 with a 9.25 save percentage and a 2.42 goals against average in his last 10 starts. At the opposite end, Ray Emery, 2-0-2 with a 2.25 goals against average and a 9.21 save percentage on the just completed 4-game road trip for the Flyers. All that since the injury and the relief of starting netminder Steve Mason, who's expected to return to the ice here for the Flyers in the next few days. Our officials tonight, Greg Kimmerly, Ryan Pochmera are the referees. Steve Barton, Scott Driscoll, the linesman. Flyers wearing their home dark jerseys. Jackets in their traveling white. Skubinski wins the opening faceoff, and we are underway. On that right wing, across the line, a quick shot sails wide of the net from the left wing boards. R.J. Umberger sends it wide. Matt Calvert, a clearing pass sent to the line, picked up there by Dubinsky. Away from Luke Schenn. Dubinsky looks for Atkinson in front, who is riding a 2-game goal-scoring streak and is amongst the league leaders in a +8 since the All-Star break. Right behind him, though, is Dubinsky at a +7. And here, David Savard. Savard up the right wing boards, finds Atkinson at center, and he'll backhand it deep into Philadelphia territory.
Good start there by the Blue Jackets. Dubinsky tried to go across the full offensive zone, and the Flyers are ready for that. Got to watch that transition game against these Flyers.
Couturier dumps it deep. Simmons in pursuit. Savard with a nice move there. Now, my apologies, that is Fedor Tutin up on that right wing. On to Fedor Tutin, who will quickly look to the left wing boards, and the puck ricochets off the leg and neutralized. Tutin will drop it back, and it's played there by Golubeuf. Golubeuf for Tutin. Just past the 1-minute mark. Glad you've tuned in here to Fox Sports Ohio as the Jackets continue a 5-game road trip. It's on to Pittsburgh from here, Montreal, and they'll conclude the 5-game trip against the Rangers in New York on Sunday evening. As you get a look at head coach Todd Richards, how about the Toyota Keys presented by your Central Ohio Toyota dealer?
Well, you've got to clog up the neutral zone against the Philadelphia Flyers. They've got speed, and if you let them freewheel and feel good about themselves, they're going to attack on you all night. Slow it down. Discipline, obviously, you got to stay out of the box. Claude Giroux, Voracek, very dangerous on the power play, and be ready and then be steady all night long. Start the right way and continue. It's got to be a 60-minute effort.
Interesting that Coach Todd Richards, Jody, has gone right back to the defensive pairing of Savard and Jack Johnson, matching them up against the high-scoring unit of Giroux, Schenn, and Voracek.
Well, this is the matchup he wants. You can see Jack Johnson right there, what he does with his size and strength. And that's how you got to play Claude Giroux. Put him down like that, get him frustrated.
Anisimov, Wenberg, and Marco Gano, who has been recalled, but now replaced there by Jared Bull on the right wing. Wenberg in the corner, can't make the play. Anisimov steps up, but it's the Flyers out of the zone. Picked up there by Schenn on to Voracek, who will backhand in. The Flyers a short shift. They'll change up here as we just passed the 2-minute mark. Right wing feed there for Jared Bull. Sails into the zone. Letestu in pursuit. It's called for icing.
And that's a different fourth line, Jeff. With Foligno being out, Todd Richards moved a few guys around. He's got Jared Bull with Jack Skilly, who moves in that position that Corey Trop was in. Corey Trop has moved up. He is with Ryan Johansson on the top line there. And, you know, with Scott Hartnell, that's just something that we've seen Corey Trop play up in the lineup a few games now. He was with Dubinsky, so obviously Todd really likes his game. There's some confidence in him, complimenting other lines and other players.
Lecavalier in the corner. Trying to fight through the check. There's Skilling. Right-handed shot playing the left wing tonight. Alongside Bull and Letestu, Jody points out. Carried into the zone. Quick shot there. Sails wide of the net. Lecavalier tosses it in front. Good defensive play there by Wisniewski, who takes a high stick from his own teammate there, Skilling. Up on that wing. There's Corey Trop dumping in. And back to play is Luke Schenn. Flyers almost got lines crossed there. And close to being called for keeping it on the ice, but Umberger hustled back to the bench. Here. A pass for Hartnell fails. Simmons now down the off wing. Simmons, as we mentioned, 5 goals, 5 assists in this 9-game point streak. And he had a big night Friday night. 2 goals and an assist at Nationwide. Schultz in front. And Reed sends it high and wide right there from the slot.
Reed was in a bit of a goal joke there until couple games ago. Now he's got a couple in a short period of time. He's a streaky player. You got to be careful of him too.
Played with a high ankle sprain and really didn't have the speed until the last couple of games. Had the game winner against Buffalo in a 2-1 victory on Sunday in Buffalo to conclude the 4-game road trip. Emery unable to trap it behind the net. That's Schultz with it. Takes a high hit there from Scotty Hartnell. Here's Dano, a quick shot. And that's off the stick of Emery. Played along the far wall. A backhand pass gets caught up in the skates of Umberger. Jackets come right back. And it's Dano avoiding the hit. Good play there by the youngster who, as Todd Richards told us this morning, Jody, would add a little bit of energy to the lineup tonight.
You can see right away the excitement in his strides. He's definitely on his toes, and I think he moved his legs the entire shift.
First game for him back in the National Hockey League since early November. Atkinson. Left wing pass there for Wenberg, sails into the zone. Coburn, who did not play in the previous meeting between these two teams, but benched the other night after a terrible giveaway. Only played 11 minutes, which is well under his ice time. And Coburn back tonight.
He was out. He was in the press box in Columbus with a boot on his foot. He had a broken foot. Took a shot there a few weeks ago. He's back in the lineup, and well, he's a big guy. He plays, like you said, he usually plays a lot of minutes. For Craig Berube to send that message to him, that's something I'm sure all of his teammates took notice to.
Well, one thing about Craig Berube, the coach of this Philadelphia Flyer Hockey Club, he has nothing but the total respect of his team. And you talk to people, and they tell you what a great coach he is. And with a makeshift lineup, and what with all the injuries, etc., he continues to win hockey games for this club. They're still very much in the playoff picture. At least they think they are. They come in tonight 5 points out of that, or 6 points, excuse me, out of that second and last wild card spot currently held by Boston.
That's right. Braden Schen's going to go off for interference. Looks like he took down David Savard.
Philadelphia, number 10.
So this is a
2 minutes for
good
interference.
start for the Columbus Blue Jackets as we look at this. Something else about Craig Berube, Jeff. He loves his team. He loves his players. Just says he's got the greatest bunch of guys. As you see, Schenn takes down 58 there. Referee right there. Easy call for him.
So the Blue Jackets, who are 6th in power play efficiency, they're 6 for 12 in this series, but they're only 1 for the last 24 over the previous 10 games. On the penalty kill, 28th of 30. And there's a quick shot at a goal. Wasting no time, a power play goal there for James Wisniewski. And the Jackets take the early lead 1-0 just seconds after the penalty was called.
And how about that play? That's a set play off the faceoff. Johansson goes to Hartnell. And Hartnell's been in this position in this building and scored some big goals right from that position right there. Snaps the puck, he kind of fans on it, and then you see Wenberg tries to pick it up. It goes to James Wisniewski, who smartly, wisely, I'll say, comes down that backside. Look at this. Wenberg tried to get that on net, kind of bobbles it. Great start for the Columbus Blue Jackets. James Wisniewski, a wise decision, and nice play from Johansson to Hartnell, and his patented position.
That goal comes just 9 seconds after Schenn was whistled down for interference. 7th goal for Wisniewski, and 6 of the 7 have come on the power play. Belmar tossing it back, and it sails all the way back into Philadelphia territory. Wenberg and Hartnell draw the assists on the goal by Wisniewski. Up high towards the net, sails wide. Right point, Goluboff. Goluboff, look. That opposite point. Jackets dump it behind. Grossman reaching for it here. 5.5 minutes plus gone in the opening period.
I like the way the Columbus Blue Jackets have come out. They had the first man advantage. They took advantage of that. Flyers have been on the road for a long time. This is their first game back at home. Their fans have been anxiously waiting exactly how you want to play this right now. Get them on their heels, get them doubting themselves, continue, and then see if you can get this crowd turned on them.
Jody, that was your first key tonight, a quick start.
Quick start, but got to stay steady, got to stay on their game now.
Well, just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's contest, and it's brought to you by Miller Lite.
There's a look at James Wisniewski, the goal scorer here early. That's his 7th of the year. He's having a nice little point total again. He's up to 27 points, and, you know, that's a smart play. He plays a smart position back there. To be in that position, to sneak in that little area is a clever play, but we've seen him a number of times, too. He's very good at getting the shot through.
Jake Voracek circling the net, tosses it back up high. Delzato cross ice. Quick shot there by Schenn, covered up and held by McElhaney. 6 minutes, 13 seconds left. Or gone, excuse me, here in the opening period. James Wisniewski and the Jackets celebrate. Your honor for Scotty Hartnell and the presentation the other night in Columbus being showed here on the video board, along with a presentation of a $10,000 check. Hartnell down.
What a nice touch by the Philadelphia Flyers. Scott spent the majority of his career here, and here he's just saluting the crowd right now. You can hear them get a little bit louder as he waves to them. They appreciated what he did here as a Flyer. He was a true Flyer, and he ended up in Columbus now, and the Blue Jackets are thrilled to have him. And what a week he's had, and for him to come back and then recognize what he does as a person in the community and how he played on the ice. It's just great to see that here in Philadelphia.
Nice to see quite a few of the fans on hand for this one actually giving him a standing ovation. They appreciated what he was able to do in this city.
You're right. That's not easy to do in this city.
No. They did that for you when you came back, didn't they?
I don't.
If they didn't, they should have.
No, not
All right, I'm on my feet. We're underway. Luke Schenn and Delzato on the points as we approach the 7-minute mark. 1-0 if you've joined us late. Wisniewski with his 7th and 6th of the 7 have come on the power play. Schenn on for Wayne Simmons. Stepping up, Johansson. Johansson on for Hartnell. Right point, Savard. Savard sends one in. In front, scores! Ryan Johansson on the rebound. I don't know if it hit the defenseman in front. Emery lost sight, or it actually hit Emery, but Johansson right there on the doorstep, just able to backhand it into the gaping wide open net.
Well, let's look at where this play started. Watch his puck. It comes high here to the point. Hartnell with a great job getting that puck. Johansson helped him too. Great decision. David Savard throws it in. That might have hit Corey Trop. Watch Johansson here. Corey Trop's doing a great job in front. Johansson's getting boxed out by Luke Schenn, but hey, he reached around, put that puck in the back of the empty net. Nice job by the Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman with these 2 goals of getting the puck through and on net, and then the forwards generating those plays.
Trop should pick up the primary assist there, smiling on the bench. Pretty well says it all. The Jackets have stormed the back-to-back goals here, less than 2 minutes apart. It is under review right now. I don't know what they'd be looking at other than perhaps maybe their stick was above the crossbar, but I don't believe that to be the case from looking up here.
Let's take a look here. You see this puck go off Corey Trop. It looked like it went off Corey Trop right there. Then they're trying to see how it went in off Johansson, I guess. How it was directed in the net. It's off the defenseman's stick.
Upon video review, the call on the ice is confirmed. We have a good goal.
Absolutely. That'd be one of the easiest goals that Ryan Johansson has
Did he
scored.
touch it?
I think it went off his body more than anything, and then you're right, went off that Flyers defenseman's stick. Nonetheless, the Jackets have stormed to a 2-0 lead.
Good things happen when you throw it to the net, right, Jeff?
Absolutely. Throw it to the net to Johansson. The end result, his 21st of the season. Credit assist to Savard and Trop. And that has silenced the crowd here in Philadelphia.
And that's good news. That's what you want when you go on the road. Now they want to keep it tight defensively and really try to frustrate the Flyers and their fans.
Atkinson able to sweep it on his own. Emery will play it with a quick feed. Strike. Around the wall, this is Schultz. Wisniewski steps up at center and dumps right back in. Strike. Off the wall. Jackets come up with it. There's Marco Dano first on that forecheck. Unable to keep it in. Wisniewski on for Connaughton. Kevin Connaughton. D to Wisniewski. Up the left wing. Wenberg takes a hit at open ice there from White. And it's dumped into the zone. Emery directing traffic, and it's left there for Coburn. In front, the Jackets as wires get crossed again for the Flyers deep in their zone, and Dano gets a clear shot.
Well, that was Wenberg behind the net on the forecheck. And that's what the Columbus Blue Jackets are doing right now. They're giving the Flyers a tough a tough goal here because they're really skating and keeping them out of sync. Look at this. Wemberg on Coburn, who you mentioned just his second game back. And then from there, the puck goes to the corner, and who's in front? Dano with a quick shot. Nice play by these guys on the forecheck right now. Todd Richards always talks about the forecheck when the team does well. He praises it, and when they don't do well, he says, where was our forecheck? Tonight, so far, the forecheck is doing the right thing.
Oh, Giroux on for Voracek. Dubinsky gets a stick on him. It's played there by Shen. Braden Shen. Rimmed around the wall. Voracek in pursuit. Calvert trying to fish that puck free. Help from Dubinsky. Played up high here by Coburn. Coburn, an attempted pass for Voracek fails. That's Tootin on there for Golubov. Less than 12 minutes left of the opening period. Atkinson with a left wing feed. Settled down there by Matt Calvert. Coburn takes him to the wall. Giroux tries to get a stick on it. It's Voracek down the right wing to Shen at center. Shen now. Backhands past Jack Johnson. Savard will retrieve below the goal line. On for Jack Johnson. And again, that matchup that Coach Richards is looking for, matched up against the top line of the Flyers. Wayne Simmons. Right wing feed. Gets away from Reed. Jackets quickly get it out of their own zone. Off the wall, played there by Trop. Couturier looks into the corner. Flyers dangerously in front of their own net there was Luke Shen, and he almost had his pocket picked. Bouncing puck. Johansson lets one fly, and that's off the mark. These Flyers look totally discombobulated here right now, and it's the way the Jackets are playing them.
I agree with you, Jeff, 100%. It's the speed of on the forecheck by the Columbus Blue Jackets on the Flyers defensemen. And it's like they've sensed something. There's some hesitation in the Flyers defense, well, the Flyers game in the defensive zone. And credit the forwards for the Columbus Blue Jackets getting in there and creating that pressure.
Wisniewski's clearing pass for Jared Bull, sails into the zone. This one all the way down the ice, and it's icing with 10:31 left. Well, how about the Elk injury report? As we mentioned from the outset of tonight's telecast, the Jackets add to the injured list with Nick Foligno out, Jody.
Yeah, that was kind of a surprise, but it makes an opportunity. We talked about opportunity all year. Dano is in there. Hope to see more of these guys off that list. Kimmo Timonen for the Flyers skated with the team for the first time today. And that's a big deal. He had blood clots in his lungs and his leg, if you recall, back in training camp. He's been patiently waiting for this day to reunite with his teammates in practice. He's looking at a 10 to 12-day target to get back and play a game. And who knows, might see him in the lineup this year.
How about the talk here in Philadelphia that they may trade him before the deadline, which is now less than 2 weeks away?
Well, if they do, it'll be, that'll be a nice touch. He's a guy that hasn't won a Stanley Cup. If the Flyers feel like they're out of it or he doesn't fit into their plans, they might be able to put him to a contender if they're interested. And I'm sure Kimmo would appreciate that.
Timonen, of course, in Columbus last week for Scott Hartnell's 1,000th game, which was a real nice touch.
Jackets hit the ice. Get ready to join the battle on Blue Jackets Live. It's on Fox Sports Ohio before every game. Blue Jackets Live is brought to you by your Central Ohio Toyota dealer.
Curtis McElhinney finds his way back into the pipes after one night off, and that boy Forsberg took a lot of shots last game, and McElhinney's back in there. And if you watch this guy on game day, Jeff, and we have the luxury of seeing these guys throughout practice days, game days. This guy is locked in all day long. He is so focused. He's really taken this #1 role, and he's getting rewarded.
As the next player and certainly an ex-Flyer here as well as a Blue Jacket, I've got to ask you, the late Roger Nielsen used to say it's difficult for teams in a first game on a homestand after being on a lengthy road trip. You buy that as a player, you come home, you're around your family, you catch up on whatever, the mail and your young kids. Is it tough when you get home after a long
Well,
road
those
trip
are a lot of excuses you just laid out there, Jeff, the mail and the family. But you know, I think that the start is tough. I agree with that. And I think it is, especially when you go out west and you come back. And there's been situations where there's teams waiting to jump all over you. Well, you're playing a desperate Flyers team. So the Blue Jackets, yes, this is the ideal start. But they've got to maintain what they've got going here right now because the Flyers are looking for any kind of life. But that's an interesting point.
Here behind the net, Dubinsky. Dubinsky looks to walk out, sends it back here to Savard. His shot sails wide of the net. Emery didn't see it till the last moment. Right wing Giroux, he'll toss it back. There's a hesitancy in the Flyers game here right now, and you got to credit the Blue Jackets for that.
Well, let's see. Braden Coburn hasn't been out there for, I don't know how long. He's missed at least 6 weeks. So he's back new in the lineup. Raffle is back new in the lineup. He hasn't been out there since before All-Star break. So these guys getting back in there and trying to get in sync. It's just, you kind of miss a step when you're trying to get back in the lineup. Blue Jackets know that.
Couple that with, of course, their high-scoring duo of Voracek and Giroux struggling. It doesn't make for very much success for a Flyers hockey club. Yet, despite all that, they do have points. In 9 straight games, haven't lost a game in regulation since the All-Star break.
Oh, yeah.
Jackets, as you say, got to keep the pedal to the metal here.
Yeah, exactly, because, Philadelphia is at home. They know what they want to accomplish here, and they think that they can make the playoffs. As you said, they're only 6 points out. So it's a desperate hockey team. Right now, they do look at a sink, but like I said, the Blue Jackets have got to stick with the game plan here.
Left wing feed carried into the zone. We'll get a chance to talk to former Flyer and national broadcaster, NHL insider Keith Jones will join me in the first intermission.
I think you're the insider. I think he's going to get more information out of you than you're going to get out of him.
Well, he could be right there. That doesn't mean we can't try, right?
That's right.
Wisniewski ahead here for Hartnell. Fires a shot. Emery fights that off. Here, Connaughton. And the stop made by Emery again. Jackets all over the Flyers here. Right wing, Simmons. James Wisniewski at the line. Wisniewski looks to the right wing boards, backhands a pass there, offside the call. 7:41 left, first period.
This is a great start, and there's a reason for it. Columbus is skating, and the forecheck we mentioned is a big part of it. Watch Columbus here. This is the goal. Johansson gets on that puck. Working together as a unit out here. These guys do it all right. All guys touch the puck there. And that is a reward. How about this forecheck? Wennberg out-muscles Coburn. Coburn goes at 6'2", about 225. Wennberg gets in there and causes a nice little turnover, an opportunity on the net.
7.5 minutes left in this opening period. Much of this period has been played in the Flyers' end of the ice. Bouncing puck played there by Grossman. Takes it off the end board. Raffle right wing. Little give and go. Jack Johnson stepping up there. And it's David Savard to the line. Savard trying to thread the needle, looking for Letestu. Coburn to plate in front of his own net. Coburn sweeps ahead for R.J. Umberger. Backhand pass for Raffle that fails, and Calvert will dump it deep. And the crowd starting to get on the Flyers.
Well, they're seeing that little discombobulation that we're seeing. Not making great passes in that by the Flyers, and they'll start to get frustrated with those little plays that aren't connecting.
Jackets backhanded in. Cam Atkinson. Calvert first on the forecheck. Wins a battle there against Schenn, but the puck is rolled off his stick. Outlet pass here. Picked up by Belmar. Right wing, LeCavalier, and the pass behind him. And again, the Flyers hear from the crowd. With the pass behind LeCavalier, he disgustingly heads to the bench.
Hockey is brought to you by Nationwide. Nationwide, the official sponsor of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
And right now, Columbus is doing a very good job. Artem Anisimov loves playing in these games. He obviously played with the New York Rangers and has had some big games here in Philadelphia. But there's something about coming into these buildings that the fans have the potential of booing their home team. I think that a guy like Dubinsky and Anisimov enjoy being here and upsetting the apple cart a little bit.
Well, we talk about Dubinsky playing his best hockey of the year right now, and you talked about him being a lot healthier than at any time after that rather serious abdominal surgery. Fact of the matter is, I think there's extra motivation when he plays teams like the Islanders the other night. Of course, the Flyers here. We've got the Rangers on this trip. Quite familiar with those teams, and there's a little extra fire in the belly, so to speak.
Well, yeah, he knows what they think of him. He's been the villain a few times when he played for the Blue Jackets and the New York Rangers. So that's a role he cherishes as he throws down Braden Schenn there at the side of the net.
Jack Johnson out of the zone. Wennberg with Dubinsky, who darts to the net. Dubinsky tried to get a stick on it. Wennberg's pass tried to lead him just a little beyond the outstretched stick. Right side, Schenn. Late first period here for the Jackets. A little more than 5.5 minutes left in the opening period. Jack Johnson's pass picked off by Couturier, and it's dumped in. Johnson will try again. Dancing away from Couturier, throws it up the left wing board. Savard has it hop off his sticks. Simmons pressuring. The Jackets dump it into the zone. Johansson in pursuit. Coburn ahead here for Reed. Reed bumped by Corey Trott. Trying to fight through that check. It's swept off into the corner. Hartnell now. Pinned briefly there by Coburn. Far side Trott. Grossman is there along with Couturier. Hartnell pulls his way in. Up along the wall, Johansson. Connaughton Wisniewski fires a shot that's deflected high and wide. Played there by Simmons. Deep in Flyer territory. Picked off by Johansson with a shot that's blocked. Coburn stood up on Johansson and was able to block that attempt. Grossman finishing a check. Reed.
You got to like this shift here by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Ryan Johansson supporting his teammates all over the ice and then picking off that pass for a little opportunity at net.
If we were interviewing Scott Hartnell right now, he'd say this would be one of the Jackets' best periods.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I agree with you.
Jackets all around this Flyers hockey club. 4:15 left. On the wing. Helped in by R.J. Umberger. That's McElhinney rimming around the wall. Chop back into the corner. Umberger to play it. Goluboff defending. Two go to the wall. Some help there now from Raffl. Rimmed around the boards. Played up high. That's Delzato. Delzato dumps it back behind the net. Flyers in front. McElhinney had it go off the pad. Played at the point. Delzato and through the traffic. McElhinney on the edge of the blue paint. Able to grab that puck. Flashes the leather and hangs on. 3:45 left. 2-0 Blue Jackets.
Nothing Jackets here. 3:45 to go in the first period. Craig Hartsburg, quite simply, what's behind the fast start?
I think being real solid. Not trying to do too much, doing the right things in all three zones. So it's a simple game, but we got to stay with it.
Talk about your forecheck a little bit and how that success there has led to the success on the other end.
Well, I think the reason we get a good forecheck going is we're getting up the ice clean, getting out of our end. We got good support coming up the ice, and again, good dumps, which allows us to get good pressure on their Ds.
And we talk about it all the time. Good support when the Blue Jackets support each other all over the ice. Close support. You have an option and use it. Well, then the team looks fast, and that's what Hartsburg said right there. Clean exits of their own zone and getting into their offensive zone.
Cam Atkinson, right wing to center. Angles it off the wall. Picked up here by Matt Calvert. Coburn defends. Calvert keeps the legs moving. Vandevelde now behind the net. Reaching for it. Backhanded. Down that right wing, LeCavalier. He will dump in, and the Flyers keep that shift short. And change up as the Jackets march out of their own end. This is Savard. Savard to center, off the wall. Dano dumps it deep, and Anisimov behind that Philadelphia net. Picked up there by Giroux. Giroux off the wall. It goes off Jack Johnson. Schultz attempting to step up. Savard comes up with the puck and sends it deep into the zone. And play is called on the icing.
Let's take a look at this. This is all in one shift. Ryan Johansson. Watch Corey Trott. He's battling. Johansson coming for the left of your screen. He's supporting. That keeps the play alive. This is the initial break into the zone. And these guys just go to work. Watch 19. Watch him here again. 19 in support. Picks off the pass. Smart play. He's in the middle of the ice, waiting for something to happen. If you have good patience and not just chase around the puck, and you play in that defensive position, that's where the puck is going to come. Good job by Ryan Johansson tonight supporting the puck.
Braden Shen on for Giroux. Luke Shen for brother Braden that fails. Here, Delzato off the point. Delzato hands it to Shen. Braden Shen had his pocket picked there by Dano. Dano now will walk it out of the zone. Steps to center. Anisimov on the left. Wenberg to right. Drop pass there for Anisimov, and Giroux gets her stick on it. And the Flyers find Voracek on the right wing. Full stride. Connaughton defends. Shot there off his skate and wide.
That's the first time we've seen speed from the Philadelphia Flyers to the neutral zone, and that's Jake Voracek. And he loves to get that puck on that off wing like that and try to make a move. But good defensive play by the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Dvorak with 6 points in the season series. Second in the National Hockey League in scoring, but he only has 1 goal and 8 points in the last 13 games. Giroux denied entry. Excuse me, that is Reed, 24. Far side strike. He'll take it back. Flyers passing, not crisp at all. 1:22 left. Reed locked into the zone. Dumps it deep. Couturier on the right wing. Throws it behind the net there for Simmons. Off the wall. It's sent back out and into Flyer territory. Again. Crowd getting on the Flyers. Raffl with speed. Less than a minute to go. Throws it in front. Tooten defending. Able to keep the Flyers from in front of the net. And was able to redirect the puck off into the corner.
I'll tell you what, when you hear these fans booing and you're a home player, you will try to do more. It's so it's amazing how you feel down there. You're embarrassed and you're like, okay, I got to get going. I got to try to do this. I got to try to do that. And just kind of get your wheels spinning. So good job by the Blue Jackets. Good tactic to try to get their fans turned on them.
It's been all Columbus in this opening period. Much of the opening period has been played in Philadelphia territory. Yet you look at the shot clock here, and it's really not indicative of this first period. For the Flyers, 9 shots. For the Jackets, 7. Matt Calvert had it taken away there by Lecavalier. Final seconds tick off. Lecavalier from an almost impossible angle, and McElhinney had to make a big stop there, and that will do it. The Flyers boot off the ice here at the Wells Fargo Center as the Jackets dominate. And after 20 minutes of play, goes by Wisniewski on the power play. Ryan Johansson less than 2 minutes later, and the Jackets lead 2-0. Back here in Philadelphia at the Wells Fargo Center, getting set for second period play. Jackets lead by a score of 2-0. Our IGS Energy performers, there's James Wisniewski, who got things going with a power play goal for the Jackets. And by the way, that's his 3rd goal and 6th point in the season series. Ryan Johansson scored the 2nd goal. It did go to review, but it was a good goal. And the Jackets lead 2-0 as we get set for second period play. Jody, what do you think? The Flyers turn it up a notch here?
Well, listen, there's a clear message, I'm sure, by Craig Berube and his staff that was not good enough at all. And I would say Todd Richards and his group said, hey, that was fun, that was great. We got results, but we have got to be better because expect a push from the Philadelphia Flyers.
Del Zotto dishing it up the left wing boards. Jackets able to keep it in on that errant pass. Anisimov dancing deep in the zone. Takes a hit along the wall. The Flyers look to march it out as Anisimov is dumped there by Luke Schenn. Flyers unable to make the play now here. A pass ahead here for Dano. Across the line. Dano with a shot. Big rebound there. Dano went right back after it. Del Zotto. Schenn. Right wing. Backhanded ahead. Giroux will play it, sending it into Jackets territory in a quick feed. Tooten up the left wing boards. Dubinsky is hit, but able to send it deep into Flyer territory.
That's a good play by Dubinsky. He knew he was going to get hit there by Luke Schenn. He just waited, took the hit, made sure he got the puck in deep just by deflecting it.
Jackets again. Dubinsky with the steal away from Raffl. Shot sails high and wide of the net. Jackets winning board battles right here in the second period as they did for most of the first. Below that goal line. Good hard hit along the wall, and it's Coburn sending it up, but not out.
He tried to flip it up out of the zone, but Wenberg, great hand-eye coordination, knocked that out of the air to keep it in the offensive zone.
McElhinney watches it sail wide of the net, and it is an icing call.
And watch this. So Philadelphia is trying to get something going here. They get speed through the neutral zone. Little pass here. Look at David Savard. He's got his stick up there right on the blue line. Breaks up that play. Blue Jackets able to control the puck and get out going the other way. Nice job by David Savard. He had a great first period with Jack Johnson. Physical on Claude Giroux. And right there, standing up at the blue line, that's what his defensive coach has. Hartsburg wants him to stand up there, close the door, if you will, on the Philadelphia Flyers.
Textbook hockey.
Yeah, it really is. Another turnover.
Letestu Losing it there to Voracek. Clearing pass up the left wing. There's a shot, and it sails wide off the stick of Raffl. Quick change here by the Flyers. Johansson now moving in. Throws it across the goal mouth, and Hartnell unable to get a stick on it. Hartnell, incidentally, has extended a point-scoring streak with an assist on that power play goal by James Wisniewski. A career-high 7-game point streak for Scotty Hartnell. Behind the net, Couturier. Couturier on to Wayne Simmons. Knocked off his stick by Johansson. Played up high. Flyers unable to keep it in. Now Reed crossing the line. Reed wristing it wide of the net. Simmons, right-handed shot in the off wing. Looks for the pass from Couturier. The Jackets with an active stick to break that up. And a clearing pass sent to the Flyers line. Reed on here to Simmons. Left wing pass. Quick shot Couturier. Jackets block that. It's sent out of the zone. Del Zotto comes off the bench and hands here to Grossman, who looks to drive it deep, but Bull steps up on him. Rolling puck. Played by Connaughton, and it's into Philadelphia territory with Bull in pursuit. Jared Bull scored Friday night against these Flyers at Nationwide.
He looks good. Good speed there by Bull to beat Grossman to the puck. Take the hit. That's a big play. And then over to Anisimov.
White drives it deep. McElhaney left for Savard, on to Jack Johnson. Johnson headmans that puck to Anisimov. Looks to the right wing for Skilling. Across the line, Skilling. Quick shot. Save. Emery was having difficulty controlling his rebound.
Yeah, the Blue Jackets have got to stay on top of that.
Carried in. This is Braden Shen with a shot that's blocked. It appears that Berubbe's changing his lines up here. He's got Shen out there now with White and R.J. Umberger. Braden Shen with a shot. Ricochets off a leg. White now. Drives it deep. Left wing. Vandevelde. Belmore. Unable to keep it in. Backhanded ahead. In pursuit. Flyers aggressively forecheck below that goal line, but good work there by Skilly to fight off the LeCavalier-check.
Yeah, that's not easy to take a hit like that when you know the guy's coming in with speed. He took the hit, held onto the puck, made that little subtle pass, and was able to get it to support and out of the zone.
Vandevelde dumps in. Played there by McElhaney, on for Savard. Johansson, backhand pass to the right wing. Atkinson out there with Hartnell and Johansson. Atkinson can't make the play. Stepping up there is Belmont. Quick shot, Raffl. Nice pad save there by McElhaney, who stood his ground. Approaching the 5-minute mark of the second period. A little more wide open than we saw in the first. Here come the Flyers. Jake Voracek down the right wing with Giroux. Raffl has replaced Shen here on this top line.
Well, this is the guy that a lot of the Philadelphia media and the people on the outside, they thought Raffl should be in that position, and it didn't take long for him to get there. It's his second game back. Braden Shen was there to start the game, and he was there last game. But Craig Berube looking for some kind of answer to the Blue Jackets' first period.
Right side, Giroux, top of the circle. Big rebound there, but Dano able to make that play. Good hustle there by the Jackets rookie to get that rebound. There's Simmons on the left wing. Simmons drops it back for Grossman. Traffic in front of McElhaney. Quick shot there. McElhaney sees it from a distance and will hold on.
Well, let's take a look at Jack Johnson, who's out there with Savard, and they've got the matchup. You said right away against the Claude Giroux, Jake Voracek line. And Jack Johnson right away, physical on Claude Giroux. That's how you play against him. Try to frustrate him. Watch him here. You see 7 on the left of your screen. Just a smart guy in front of the net. Positionally on the backside there. He's had a good sound game to this point. Smart decisions. But we always like to see Jack Johnson throw that weight around.
Absolutely. That's when he is at his best. And he certainly stepped up in the plus-minus department here over the last dozen games. Right side, Simmons. Advance that puck across the line, Couturier. Ooh, good hit there along the wall by Fedor Tutin. They're going to call a penalty on that. Delayed call. Quick shot. Scramble in front. McElhaney can't cover up. Jackets touch up. And the first penalty here. Tutin headed to the box with that hit on Couturier.
Columbus, number 51.
It looked like a good physical play by Fedor Tutin. And I know Couturier winning kind of awkwardly, but watch here. The way he got him and the way Couturier went to the boards, I guess it was a little awkward, but really Fedor Tyutin is just trying to get him spun around, get position on him as they go into battle for the puck.
Flyers third in power play efficiency at 23.5%. Even better here of late. They are 8 for the last 26, better than 30% over the last 11 games. That's second best in that stretch in the National Hockey League. Jackets 20th on the penalty kill at 80.4%. First power play for the Flyers tonight. Giroux, Simmons fires from a sharp angle. Rebound sent wide. Off the stick there of Braden Shen. Voracek and straight up high. That's Giroux on the half board. Giroux deals. Strike with a shot. Traffic in front. McElhinney, the stick save. And the Jackets are able to clear. All kinds of traffic in front of McElhinney, Jody. But he's able to see that puck through the crowd.
Well, that's Wayne Simmons. And we saw him attack from the goal line. The initial face-off win by the Flyers. And there, when that puck goes up high, Wayne Simmons knows where to go. And he was directly in front of McElhinney and made a great save.
Giroux takes it from Voracek. Strike. Breaks his stick. Calvert just now aware of that. Strike without his stick. Calvert crossing the line. Calvert now backhands. And Emery forced to make a glove stop. And it's left there for Giroux.
How about Calvert? Sees the defenseman has a broken stick. And then he sees Claude Giroux, the offensive player, skating backwards as a defenseman. He goes right at both and gets a nice opportunity.
Cavalier. Delzato. Jake Voracek on the left wing. Power play down to 45 seconds. Quick feed to the right side. LeCavalier. Quick shot. Getting a stick on it was Umberger. But a pad save made by McElhinney. And Anisimov able to clear it to center. Delzato pressured by Anisimov. Thrown up the middle. Carried in by Couturier. The man responsible for the penalty call on Tyutin. Jackets come up with it. Letestu will dump in. Emery able to leave it there for Delzato. 15 seconds left in the power play. First manpower advantage for the Flyers tonight, and McElhinney will send it high off the glass.
McElhinney came out. He saw the linesman wave off icing, so he quickly got out his net, got his stick on it, and threw it to a safe area, and that's the corner.
Tyutin steps out. Jackets have killed it off. 3 shots on that power play. McElhinney. Left there for James Wisniewski. Johansson, drop pass for Corey Tropp, coming with speed. Grossman defense. Grossman able to play that puck as Tropp went crashing into goaltender Emery. Grossman took a hit, slow to get up. McElhinney steers to the corner. White pressured along the board. Loose puck played there by Johansson, up and out. Tropp attempting to glove it, unable to do so. On that left wing, it's White again, and he will wrist in. McElhinney quickly out and alertly hands the puck here to Connaughton. Tyutin. Away from Raffl. Giroux tried to get a stick on it.
Tyutin was looking for a little support there as he made a nice little spin play, but there was no one around him. So he tried to hold on the puck a little longer, and he did so and did a nice job.
Evan Connaughton dumps in. That's Schultz. On to strike. Right side, Jake Voracek. Voracek. Schultz quickly into Jackets territory. Jack Johnson now. Head up. Rink-wide pass picked off by Couturier, who comes off the bench. Looking for Raffl. Fails to get it to him. Quick shot, Jake Voracek, and it's deflected wide. Luke Schenn at the point. A wrist shot. Off a leg. Couturier on for Voracek, who slips and falls. Jackets as a result able to clear, and it's Atkinson pulling up on the half wall, sends it off the board deep for Hartnell.
Impressive speed there by Luke Schenn on the back check. Boy, Cam Atkinson you would think had the advantage as he's bearing down on the puck, but Luke Schenn put his head down and stayed right with him.
Wayne Simmons on the turnover drills it high and wide, and with 10:09 left here in the second period, we will step aside. A scoreless second. Jackets with goals in the first from Wisniewski and Johansson.
Philly right now on FoxSportsOhio.com. Will the Jackets make a move at the trade deadline? See why Kyrie Irving has the rest of the NBA worried And who will fill out the final 2 rotation spots for the Cincinnati Reds? Yeah, we're already talking baseball. Complete coverage of all of today's action involving Ohio sports. It's brought to you by 1-800-SafeAuto.com.
I look at Todd Richards. He's got to be pleased, Jody, with the way his club's playing here tonight.
Maybe inside, but I don't think he's going to let his team know that. And I think that's what he's got to do. It's the process. Okay, they've only had 1 good period, and that's the way he'd have to approach it. He's got to get the 2 points here tonight. He knows that. And, he's looking for his team to go out and continue. And I think to this point, they've done a nice job.
You're only as good as your last shift. Is that the way it is?
Yeah, sure.
Here's Reed. Connaughton defense. Just past the midway point of the second period and the hockey game. Flyers Couturier tied up there by Wenberg. Reed in the board battle. Couturier looking to walk out. Simmons. Grossman with a shot. The Jackets block that as Dano stepped in front of it, and icing is the call as Dano takes that one off the skate.
That's a brave play by the rookie to get down in front of that big shot. I mean, that's not easy to do. I don't care who you are. Slap shot in the NHL coming in at you, and you're going to take a knee and hope it hits you, as he did there. And he not only blocked the shot, then he gets up, tracks it down, and gets it down the ice. And you see Flyers immediately put out their top line of Giroux, Voracek, and Raffl with this line kind of hemmed in. They haven't been out there too long, but on an icing situation, the Flyers look at it as an advantage.
Jackets get it out. Dano first on the forecheck.
Good job by these guys, Wenberg and Dano. They got the puck out, down the ice. Now they're going to get off and let the fresh guys get out there.
Voracek takes the pass from Giroux. Big rebound given up by McElhinney. Flyers unable to get to it. Voracek. Dubinsky draped all over him. Voracek circles the net. Tootin now in pursuit. Move by Dubinsky. Ahead for Atkinson. Thrown to the near boards. Calvert loves it. Was able to send it out of the zone. Raffl laying left wing here on this top line. White first on the forecheck. Hammering Tootin. Jackets Calvert marches out of the zone. Delzato trying to hold him up. Emery on for Luke Schenn. Right wing pass. White, who takes a hit from Dubinsky. Moved in by Umberger. The long shot played by McElhinney, who's going to hold on here with both Delzato and Umberger camped on the doorstep. Philadelphia outshooting the Jackets 8-3 here in the second. It remains 2-0 Columbus.
Jackets continue to lead here 2-0 in Philadelphia. A little more free skating, a little more open style of hockey here. Would you like to see it get back to the way it was in the first period, Brad Larson?
Yeah, I mean, it's puck management issues. If we get it below the goal line, we had success. We're forcing them into some turnovers, and just keep it simple for us. That's the recipe for our success.
Talk about the things that are going well in this period. Obviously, you had the nice penalty kill earlier.
Yeah, we just got to make sure we keep doing things right. Stick to the process.
And there it is, Jeff. Stick with the process. Keep it simple. And that's just really what, as basic as it sounds, that's what they've got to do, especially on the road. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to put on a show. But do not sit back.
And the Jackets do just that as they head off ice. A quick shot there by Johansson. Emery makes that stick save. Simmons down the wing. Chopped ahead, off the stick of Trop. Couturier reaching for it. Johansson fails to clear on the first attempt. Reed into the corner there for Simmons. Jack Johnson defending. Simmons. Looking with feet moving. Finds Reed behind the net. Reed, Simmons. Up high, Schultz. One-time Blue Jacket sends it wide of the net. Reed looking to walk out. Up high, Schultz looking for Simmons. Jack Johnson will play it away from Couturier. Sends it up, but not out. Strike for Reed off the blocker there of McElhinney. Coburn looking for Simmons. Good board battle there, won by Corey Trop, and he's able to send it into Philadelphia territory.
He was down on his knees there and stuck with the puck. Battled with the stick and then ended up getting it out.
Fourth line out there now. Belmar and Vandervelde along with LeCavalier as the Jackets dumped it deep. Jackets fourth line. Bowl.
Good speed by Jared Bowl there. I'll tell you what, he's looked like he's really picked up his game, and I just think it's confidence and just more carefree play. He's got the feet moving pretty good here tonight again.
Well, the message was sent here a few weeks ago with Bull a healthy scratch in back-to-back games, and he's come back and really stepped up his game since. Bouncing puck played here by Connaughton. 6:45 left. That's James Wisniewski away from LeCavalier. Long lead pass for Skilly. Sails deep in the zone. They say no icing. So play continues. And it's shoveled out of the zone where Dubinsky will quickly find Matt Calvert. Atkinson down the right side. Calvert from a sharp angle. Glove and held by Emery with 6:28 left in the second.
Keep it right here after this and every Blue Jackets game, as here on Fox Sports Ohio we break down the game, we talk to the players and to Coach Richards. It's all on Blue Jackets Live, presented by IGS Energy. IGS Energy, take control of your natural gas costs. You can enroll at IGSenergy.com.
Jackets taking control of this hockey game, and Emery with a nice stop there. That puck along the ice, and he got the glove down in a hurry and held, forcing a faceoff deep in Philadelphia territory. Wenberg will take the draw for the Jackets against Giroux. And from the faceoff, Schenn fought off. Anisimov wraparound attempt. Raffl on for Schenn. Voracek racing down that left side. Jake Voracek circling the net. Goluboff not giving up on him. In front, McElhaney with a nice stop on Raffl. Far side. Raffl dropped to the ice. Giroux racing towards there. Tootin defending. Voracek tied up by Goluboff. Matt Calvert looking to play it. Giroux is there. Voracek bumped by Tootin. Flyers, Del Zotto off the point. Voracek behind the net.
Very aggressive play there by Michael Del Zotto to come in and keep that play alive. See the Flyers now jumping up on the play a little more.
5:38 left.
Jackets continue to lead the Flyers 2-0 here in Philadelphia. Hey, tonight on Fox Sports Live on Fox Sports 1, Kentucky looks to remain perfect as the Cats head to Rocky Top to take on the Vols of Tennessee. The Jackets heading to Pittsburgh Thursday. Tonight, Sidney Crosby and the Pens welcome red-hot Alex Ovechkin and the Caps to town. And as he prepares for a return to baseball, Alex Rodriguez issues a handwritten apology to the fans. That's tonight on Fox Sports Live. It's on Fox Sports 1.
Dubinsky all set to take this face-off in the defensive zone. Lots of communication between him and the defenseman. I love to watch that as they line up for the draw, making sure everyone's ready.
Matt Calvert looking for Jack Johnson, who had joined the rush. That pass failed. On the left wing, R.J. Umberger chops it off the boards in deep. Johnson looking for Savard. Dubinsky had it roll off his stick. Braden Schenn to the point. The late penalty upcoming to the Jackets here.
That's going to be hooked. As Braden Schenn had that puck up high, he got his hands hooked. So the Blue Jackets back to the penalty kill here.
Second power play. You talked about discipline as one of your keys.
Columbus penalty number 17. 2 minutes. Hooking.
Dubinsky gets the gate for hooking.
Defensive zone play. Watch this as Dubinsky. He loses the puck there. He tries to recover, and that's where Braden Schenn gets the puck and finds that seam. You're taught as a kid to lift the stick. It's a stick check. You're trying to lift the stick, lift the guy's stick and take the puck. But you see that as he lifted the stick, his stick slid up towards the hands, and that's where he's going to get the call.
14:56 the time of the hooking penalty. 0 for 1 of the Flyers. They had 3 shots on the first attempt. Shorthanded. Letestu has one of the 2 Jacket shorthanded goals. Flyers are giving up 5 shorthanded goals. This is Giroux. Across the line. Simmons wrists it wide of the net. Tossed back to the left point. Strike. Voracek cruising on the right side. Looking for that backdoor play as he pinches in. Up high at Strike. Voracek takes it on that half board. Looks in front. That redirected, and an outstanding stop by McElhaney. The puck redirected from the shot up high. McElhaney gets a pad on it. Simmons sets the screen in front. This is Strike. On to Voracek. Simmons again sets the screen. Voracek almost to the goal line. Finds Simmons behind the net. On to Giroux up high. Giroux, a wrist shot. Getting a stick on it there was Simmons, but he sent it wide. Power play, less than a minute to go. Here's Voracek. Jake Voracek. To the point for Strike. Giroux poised in the left circle. Voracek fires his shot. Sails wide. Wisniewski hammers it off the wall, but right to Giroux. Giroux for Strike. Simmons again sets the screen. Voracek lets one fly. Oh, that one hurt. Blocked in front by the Jackets' Fedor Tyutin. Power play, less than 30 seconds left. Giroux hanging on. Giroux strike. Oh, look at McElhinney come out. Rebound. Voracek trying to kick it from skate to stick, and somehow two outstanding stops by McElhinney. Watch this. The first attempt, and then the rebound. Voracek unable to send it home.
Oh, man, I tell you what. Voracek thought he had a goal right here. And he can't believe it as Curtis McElhinney absolutely robs Voracek. Wow, in the glove. Great effort by these guys, and that guy 51 in front battled for his goaltender. That entire shift, they were out there for a minute and 41 seconds as a group. Tyutin blocking shots, negating plays, and then McElhinney absolutely stoning Jake Voracek.
Tell you what, the first stop with that rebound going to Voracek, not too shabby at all.
And what Rudy said, all we saw was the empty net. And Voracek trying to get it from his skate to his stick. McElhinney flies across. Great job by the penalty kill here. Lots of communication. I tell you what, lots of taps on the pads for that man, Curtis McElhinney. Let's go back to Fedor Tyutin during that penalty kill. What an effort. Watch him, 51. He's on the right side of your screen in front of the net. There's that Wayne Simmons patent move. He's there to negate it quickly. Watch this. Watch this. He gets in there and breaks that up. We saw that play when they were in Columbus a few games ago. And Wayne Simmons got the puck to the net, and right there, Tyutin read that very well and blocked that whole play.
He also blocked a shot earlier on in the power play from the point, taking it off the leg and shaking it off.
Now he's a warrior.
5 shots on the just completed power play, so they're 0 for 2 now with 8 shots. A credit Curtis McElhinney with some outstanding net minding. They're looking the other way there, not expecting the puck to come out on the short side, but the Jackets defend, and McElhinney, little pat on the back to Savard as a result. Far side of the ice. Long shot, redirected into the net. The shot up high, deflected down low, and the Flyers cut the deficit to 1.
That looks like Wayne Simmons involved in that play, and there was a good screen in front, a nice shot from the point. And Wayne Simmons, I'm telling you what, dangerous player for these Philadelphia Flyers. See him 17 in the middle of your screen. He gets a piece of it. But in front, that looked like Van de Velde in front of the net. Michael Del Zotto gets it through. It's tipped. 76 is in there, and so is Jack Johnson. That causes a mess. There's a deflection right through the wickets. And McElhinney didn't get that after the Wayne Simmons deflection out high. That's a tough play for the goaltender when that deflection is so far from the net.
Now Simmons gets credit for it, and that's his 6th goal and 11th point in the last 10 games. And boy, is he having a season against the Jackets. He extends a point-scoring streak to 5 games, his 4th goal in the last 5. Leads the Flyers with that 22nd goal of the season and his 4th goal and 6th point against the Blue Jackets in the season series. Simmons from Del Zotto and Luke Schenn.
And we talked about him in the open. There was a reason why we talked about him. He has a spark for this team, and he can fight, he can hit, he can skate. He's a guy that Craig Berube and the teammates look to. And you see there, he's been in the dirty areas a couple times here tonight. We saw the play Fedor Tyutin made on him down low. That's a play that Wayne Simmons works on the power play. But then how about that hand-eye coordination, that deflection from out high? He can do it all, Wayne Simmons.
Here's Hartnell across the line. Hartnell had it roll off his stick. Giroux from just in front of the net sends it around the boards, and Voracek racing into the offensive zone. Jackets defend. Getting a stick on it was Johansson. Flyers, an awful attempt to play it. Hartnell stepping into Coburn. Those two have come together face-to-face on a couple of occasions tonight. Coburn, 2 big men.
Be interesting. Those two drop the gloves.
Here's Luke Schenn. Schenn now across the line. Schenn with a shot that's redirected by McElhinney off into the corner. 2-1 the score. A little more than a minute left. Second period. Flyers walk out of the zone. Played up high. Quick shot. Less than a minute to go here now. Sails wide of the net. Flyers on it quickly. R.J. Umberger sends it right on, and McElhinney forced to make another shot. But the shot up high, and the Flyers come back to tie it up. Again from a distance. Del Zotto let it fly, and it's 2-2.
Michael Del Zotto getting involved here with his shot. We saw his shot earlier. It's going to come to the left of your screen. Michael Del Zotto's hanging out on the left side of the screen. Attempt at net, and here he is. One-time slap shot, and Bud, tell you what, watch where this puck goes. Michael Del Zotto's going to lean into it here, and that's over the shoulder of McElhinney, who once again, traffic in front. Puck at the net by Michael Del Zotto, and he's had a good back half of this second period here, Jeff, with two big plays to bring this game back to even.
Primary assist on the Simmons goal, and his 6th of the year, ties it up with 43.8 seconds left. Pretty good pickup here. Signed as a free agent just prior to the start of the season, and he's fit in well here with this Philadelphia Hockey Club.
Yeah, they were looking for him to reinvent himself after he left New York and went down to Nashville. Didn't fit in there. It was a late signing. He went a long time, deep into the summer. And then the Flyers picked him up, and he commented that they're just letting him play. He's not worrying about his game. He knows he's going to get back out on the ice. And that's a good feeling as a player. So he's taking advantage of his ice time and his role here.
Flyers out shooting the Jackets here now 30-13. Curtis McElhinney has played superbly, stopping 28 of 30 shots, 5 on the recently completed power play. A couple in particular from in tight are the outstanding variety, but the Flyers, after a horrible first period, come back here to strike quickly. And after 40 minutes, much to the delight of the crowd here in Philadelphia, the Flyers and the Blue Jackets now tied at 2. 19:08, the time of the Del Zotto goal to tie it up. Dave Metzold will have a guest when we return. Columbus Blue Jackets hockey on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by Huntington Bank. At Huntington, you can bank like a real fan. Get your Blue Jackets debit card at BlueJacketsBanking.com. By Ohio Health, the official healthcare provider of your Columbus Blue Jackets. And by 5-Hour Energy Shots, now with a new improved taste. Jeff Rimmer, Jody Shelley, Dave Metzold rejoining you here in Philadelphia. Moments away from the start of the third period. Teams are tied 2-2. And let's check out tonight's AEP Power Play summary. Bit of a change here. We're showing you the power play numbers over the course of the season, this being Game 5 of the season series.
A lot of production for both teams when you look at that, but the Jackets' numbers are unreal. They got to get a power play here in the third period. It looks to me, Jeff, to get this thing back in their favor. Well, there's a man who's scored a few on the power play this year. Absolutely.
6 of his 7 goals have come on the manpower advantage. He's also had success against his Flyer Hockey Club. 3 goals, an equal number of assists for a total of 6 points. He's extended a point-scoring streak with the goal tonight to get the Jackets going in that opening period. And it's a 2-2 tie. And bear in mind, each of the games in this season series are determined by a goal.
Let's revisit the 3 keys. Clog up the middle, discipline, and ready and steady. They can all apply to this third period. Clog up the middle, slow down the Flyers. Discipline, they got to stay out of the box, Jeff. And be ready and play the whole period the way they want.
8 shots, 0 for 2 are the Flyers on the power play. They came in tonight red hot with 8 goals in their previous 26 opportunities. 3rd in the league. Jackets no slouch. They came in tonight 6th best on the power play. And, of course, got it started with the Wisniewski power play goal.
Well, Michael Del Zotto tried to enter the zone with a rim, and he got it too high and ended up in the crowd here, so they're going to do it over again from center ice.
Here, Del Zotto, a goal and an assist. A binary assist on the Simmons goal, and then his 6th of the season. In that final minute, McElhinney forced to make another big save there. off the stick of Belmar. Jackets march up ice. Atkinson trying to feed Dubinsky. He was behind Luke Shen, but unable to control that puck. Savard lets one fly. Saved by Emery. Matt Calvert now. Battling. Belmar there. Calvert ridden off on the play by Delzato. Luke Shen to pick it up. Sent off the wall. Out to center. David Savard settles it down. Savard with a pass for Johansson. Voracek left it right there at center ice. Jackets get it back. This is Savard. D-to-D on for Jack Johnson. Redirected by Hartnell deep in the zone. Strike quickly. Hustles to it. Paired with Schultz. Hartnell from a sharp angle. Stick save. Made by Emery.
A similar area where Michael Delzato scored his goal.
Raffle, who has replaced Braden Shen on the top line here after a slow first period. And there Goluboff takes exception. Hartnell will step into Raffle. Now Goluboff comes back. And for the first time tonight, a scrum.
Hey, Goluboff's got to be careful there. I like what he's doing. He's standing up for himself as Raffle kind of crunched him just at the whistle. But then the referee said, okay, that's it. And Goluboff went over and gave an extra poke. There it is. He says, hey, buddy, the whistle was gone. Good little shove. You see the referee's hand up there in the corner. It's just a conversation coming out of that. So, yeah, we don't mind a scrum or two, huh?
No. Add a little bit of excitement to this one.
Come on, you're in Philadelphia. You know, you got to have that. You expect that type of thing.
Well, the Jackets are more the Broad Street Bullies now than what the Flyers are. Jackets lead them in penalty minutes. But this used to be a tough barn to play.
Oh, yeah. And then the old Spectrum, which was here for years and where the Flyers won their Stanley Cup, which is now turned into Xfinity Live, a big sports, kind of an outdoor park with a theater and a concert area.
Approaching the 2-minute mark. 2-2 the score. Last two games decided in overtime, both won by the Jackets. Anisimov winning Friday's game with an overtime goal. And, of course, the previous game, also in Columbus, won on a Kevin Connaughton overtime goal after Braden Shen had tied it up in the last minute. And speaking of Braden Shen, hands it there to Coburn, up the left wing boards for R.J. Umberger. Carried deep into Jackets territory before White sends it the rest of the way, throws it back to the point. That pass a little high for Grossman. Emery out to direct traffic and deals to Coburn.
Now White tried to get that back. Looks like he got his full blade under the puck, and that just elevated it. Grossman couldn't keep it in. Jackets will take that advantage.
Battle on the boards. Umberger. And for Shen. Loose puck. Letestu. Back for Jack Johnson as we approach the 3-minute mark. David Savard. Dumping it deep into Philadelphia territory. Backhanded by Johansson as he is hit by Luke Shen. Grossman now with a backhand. Jack Johnson steps up offside the call. Now with the whistle stoppage gives us an opportunity to take a look at tonight's Ohio Health great save. We go back to the second period on a power play.
This is an outstanding save by Curtis McElhinney. Initial save was big, but how about this one? Voracek, skate to stick. They can't believe it as he looks up at the scoreboard to watch the replay. Curtis McElhinney with a strong save there, and then from there, that's after that the Flyers got a couple, got this game back to even.
Cam Atkinson. At the point, Goluboff. Back for Atkinson. Quick shot. That one glanced off Emery and the side of that goalpost. Atkinson riding a 2-game goal-scoring streak. He'd like to extend it here. Dubinsky similarly 2 straight games with a goal. Goluboff with a shot. And that one, again, glancing off the pipe.
Nice little deflection by Cam Atkinson there. Got a stick on it as Goluboff intentionally shot it wide. But as you said, just hit the side of the net.
Belmar to the Jackets line. Quick feed, Calvert from Goluboff. Delzato's lost his stick. Calvert edges it off into the corner. Delzato takes his stick there. No, he won't take it from Raffle. Raffle tried to hand it to him. Delzato Picks up a new stick, but is replaced on that blue line. Flyers in the zone. Voracek, a quick shot. Oh, nice glove save. Flashing the leather there, and holding on is McElhaney.
Voracek read Kevin Connaughton pretty well and got the puck. Look to the middle. He saw that little peek. He's in a tough angle here. Tries to throw it off the net. Off the goaltender maybe to get a little rebound, but got it too high. Curtis McElhaney snapped that out of the air.
Jackets out shooting the Flyers 3-1 here in this third period as we approach the 5-minute mark. Giroux, Ruffle, Voracek up front for the Flyers. Jackets counter with the Letestu line. And 3 times they attempted to drop that puck. Unsuccessful. Let's do it again.
A little art to that as that linesman's got to snap that puck in with no unfair advantage, and he's got guys trying to creep in from outside the circle, and then the guy that's trying to win the draw in the middle, so want to get it right.
Quick shot strike through the crowd. McElhaney down, and again covers up. Much better at controlling his rebounds here over this last stretch. As we mentioned, coming in the last 10 starts, 7-3 with a 9.25 save percentage and a 2.42 goals against average.
Look how calm he is. He gets bumped in front by Raffle. He's got a little battle in front of him. Just waits, calmly waits for that little window to open to see the puck. And then when he does see it, makes the save, settles it down, gets ready for the next play.
The credit Ian Clark has totally changed his stance in that net. More of a stand-up goaltender, and he certainly had the success as a result. Plus the fact, Jody, with Bobrovsky injured, he knows he's going to be going every night. And you can see the confidence in McElhaney each and every game.
Yeah, and I like both of those points, and I like that he had time to work on his game. Once he got back and healthy, and Bobrovsky was in net, he spent a lot of time working on his game, preparing, and just waiting for this opportunity.
Incidentally, Todd Richards saying yesterday after practice, good chance that we'll see Bobrovsky before the end of the month. As we get a look at Todd, and Bobrovsky on the trip with the Jackets, so he'll continue to work. He's back on the ice here now, but with McElhaney playing so well, not that we're going to coach the hockey club, but you can take your time with Bobrovsky and certainly give McElhaney the opportunity to continue to improve his game, which he has.
Well, that's good news on Sergei. Love to see him get back in the net. We know he wants to get back in there sooner than later.
Puck step to center to Simmons before rifling it into Jackets territory. Wayne Simmons along the boards. Corey Trout in that battle. Simmons wins it. Simmons off the wall, off the shoulder there.
Boy, that was a quick shot through traffic by Wayne Simmons. Not easy to do, shoot that through the player, the defender. But he did that. Curtis McElhaney caught a piece of it with his arm.
Talk about confidence. That guy's certainly playing with confidence right now. 6th goal and 11th point tonight in his last 10 games.
The Wayne train, they call him.
Up high, Jake Voracek getting a stick on it. Down low was Ruffle, but he set it wide. Now Dubinsky for the Jackets, looking to march out of his own end. Dubinsky backhands one right in there on Emery, played by Luke Chen. 2-2 to score here. Less than 14 minutes left, third period regulation time. Delzato all over his former teammate Dubinsky. Flyers march out of the zone. Ruffle late in the shift for him. Will dump in. Voracek on the right wing, throws it in front. Atkinson back to make the defensive play.
Good job by Atkinson to be in that position to break the play up. Down low with his stick on the ice in the defensive zone.
Schultz looking for LeCavalier. Bull steps up on him. Battle ensues. Toss behind the net. Strike settles it down. On for Schultz. Down that right wing, LeCavalier. Bumped there by his opposite number, Bull. Jack Johnson now a clearing pass for Letestu. Bull races down the left side. Letestu hands it to Bull. Top of the circle. Pulls up. Looks to center it. Picked off there by the Flyers. And here, Belmar on to Van de Velde. Jackets defend. Good work there. The strength of Savard showing, and the shot from the point sails wide. It may have been directed. Waving at it there was McElhaney as it was sent wide. Great work there by Savard on that last defensive play.
Yeah, that was a good job. That line had to back check after that turnover in the offensive zone. Jared Bolt tried to go across the whole seam. He saw something there, but the Flyers broke that up and came up quickly.
Kevin Connaughton tossing it in front of Isimov with a quick feed. Wenberg, rink wide. Wisniewski stands up at his own blue line. Looks to the right wing for Anisimov. Picked off there by the Flyers' Umberger. A quick feed to the right wing for White. White steps to center. Wenberg rides him off at the Jackets bench. McElhaney backhands a pass for Wisniewski onto Anisimov. Artem Anisimov flips a backhand that goes off Wenberg. It'll be played there by Luke Schenn. Approaching the 8-minute mark, and Del Zotto will settle it down. Del Zotto, head up. Flyers change up on the fly. Del Zotto hangs on as the Flyers get fresh legs on. Now hands it to Luke Schenn. Simmons down the right side. Jackets stand up. Trop unable to play it. Couturier for Simmons. Hustling into the zone. Tootin takes into the corner. Reed tied up. Jackets Trop with a clearing pass. Simmons is there for Philadelphia and rifles it right back in. Couturier trying to toss it in front. Reed below the goal line. Tootin finishing a check. Up high, that's Schultz. Quick feed. An attempt there. Blocked in front of McElhaney. Johansson upended. Kept in by Couturier. Drop pass for Schultz. Traffic in front. Schultz towards the net. Deflected there by Reed. Jackets defend down low. That's Trump. He'll toss it back behind his own net. On for Scotty Hartnell on the left side. Away from Reed and Tootin there.
Good job by Fedor Tootin to wait and settle that down. A lot of heat on the Blue Jackets as there was a lot of rubber thrown at McElhaney. And the Philadelphia Flyers are really on their toes in the attack mode, but Fedor Tootin waited for that opportunity, got the puck, settled it down, and got it down the ice.
Elmar hustles after it. LeCavalier there to help out. Elmar. LeCavalier thrown up high and out. Grossman's got to hustle back. Paired here with Coburn. Grossman hands it to Coburn as we are seconds away from the midway point of this third period. Jack Johnson dancing away from LeCavalier. Leads the rush up ice. Hits Atkinson. Atkinson looks. Atkinson lets one fly. In front, Jack Johnson, and a poke check there by Emery. A glorious scoring opportunity for the Jackets. In front, Atkinson shoots, scores! Matt Calvert taking the Atkinson pass. The Jackets fail on the first attempt. They come right back on the second and regain the lead 3-2.
Oh, what a save by Ray Emery to start this whole play. Jack Johnson started it from his own end, breaking up the ice, gets it over to the wing, and look at his shot. Rebound goes to Jack Johnson. Emery with that outstanding save. But how about this play by Dubinsky? Hustles on the back check, causes a turnover, gets it down low to Atkinson, and that was a great individual effort by Brandon Dubinsky. Jack Johnson on the way up the ice. But I can't say enough about that back check of Dubinsky to cause a turnover in the offensive zone and then make that heads-up play. What an outstanding effort by that man right there.
And he should continue a point-scoring streak to 3 games, his 4th point. Coming in tonight, he was a +7 since the All-Star break. Dubinsky, and he picks up the second assist, the primary assist to Atkinson, who passed to Matt Calvert for his 8th of the season. 3-2 Jackets.
Oh, you started that whole series saying that Jack Johnson danced away from the forecheck of the Flyers, and from there he danced up the ice and made a great effort and actually had the best attempt at net on the initial rush. But that Dubinsky back check, well, I'll tell you what. Impressive stuff.
Wisniewski and Raffl, they've got to be separated there. 9.5 minutes left. Jackets celebrate the go-ahead goal.
Jackets regain the lead here in Philadelphia. See these guys giving each other a fist bump for a reason. They just came off a great shift. And here's the initial attack. Look at Jack Johnson here in front, gets the save. Now watch 17. He goes out of the screen here on the left. Now here he comes on the back check. In the middle, picks off the puck. Dubinsky down to Atkinson, over to Calvert, and he says, wow, thank you very much. And that's how they regained the lead here just a couple minutes ago.
Well, we highlighted Dubinsky in the open. We talked in terms of him playing the best hockey by far here over this last stretch. And another big play there, as you illustrate.
Well, I mean, that's a mindset, okay? You miss a great opportunity on net. What do? Okay, the other team's got the puck. I'm going to hustle back, but then I'm going to try to track the puck and not only cause that turnover, but then make a play, an offensive play that creates that odd man 2-on-1 in front. But nice pass by Atkinson. It's a good effort, and especially since really the Philadelphia Flyers were rumbling down here in the their offensive zone.
36 shots for the Flyers tonight. They had 20 in that second period. 6 here in the third. Jackets with 7. The difference, that go-ahead goal. Matty Calvert.
Ryan Johansson just beat Giroux in the faceoff circle. That's the first one he's lost. He went 8-0 in the first period. Ryan Johansson, important draw there too in the defensive zone.
Voracek had it knocked away. Giroux and Voracek collide there. It's tossed into the corner. Raffl away from Goluboff. This is Voracek behind the net. Defending Goluboff up high. Kept in by Schultz.
That was a good play by Goluboff to use his strength to push Voracek off the puck. That's not easy.
Cross ice. Schultz off the point. Thrown in front. Backhanded by Voracek. And the puck rolls off his stick. Handed here. Strike. Can't pull the trigger. That puck was bouncing on him. Now played. Cross ice. Flyers let one fly. Look at McElhinney. The puck just melts up into that equipment. Jake Voracek. Watch as he is really a frustrated player here right now, shaking his head as he misses this opportunity.
And here he is. He's just running out of real estate. Right there in front of the net. Schultz was running out of real estate there. He gets it in front. Good. Look at this. Voracek that puck just rolls off his stick.
8:26 left. We will step aside. For the score, you see the time remaining, and how about the PNC game summary?
Block shots. That's a big stat, and that was a lot in the first period by the Columbus Blue Jackets. And then the shots on goal, you look at that. A little one-sided for the Flyers. The Jackets have the 3-2 lead.
Puck sent in front. Jackets defend. R.J. Umberger losing that board battle there. Thrown back here to Coburn. Coburn lets one fly, and that's high and wide. Jackets, Atkinson settles it down. Stepping up there, Braden Shen. He'll backhand it deep. Missing, avoiding a hit there from Dubinsky. Now with a cross-check back at Dubinsky. Who smartly walks away from Shen.
Yeah, I'm surprised Shen didn't get called on that cross-check. That was a definite retaliation right to the arm of Dubinsky, and good on Dubinsky not to retaliate.
Left side. White the long shot, stick to side by McElhinney. Shen takes a hard hit there from James Wisniewski. Wisniewski now. Open the scoring with a power play goal in the opening period. Jackets went up 2-0. Shen goes back at Wisniewski, and Shen got the worst of that exchange.
Yeah, he just found out how solid James Wisniewski is on his skates.
Simmons pass, knocked down by Anisimov. Skilly can't clear. Wisniewski continues to play a strong game for the Jackets. Here's Skilly across the line. Shot, Emery, and he'll hold on. And again, little skirmish, no damage done. Simmons comes in. Well, the Jackets move on to Pittsburgh, but our next telecast will come to you from Montreal on Saturday night. Next telecast will be seen nationally on the NBC network. Our next coverage will be Saturday night from Montreal. Blue Jackets pregame at 6:30, opening face-off at 7 o'clock. As you mentioned, Thursday, the Jackets take on the Penguins in Pittsburgh. From the face-off, Del Zotto rims it around the wall. Tempted clears there, second effort. Simmons gets it up, and Letestu dumps it right back in. Del Zotto will take it. Head up. Del Zotto, who tied it late in the second period. 2 goals less than 2 minutes apart, tying up this hockey game. Simmons walking up, fires right across the goal mouth. Up high, Luke Shen with a shot. It trickles through on the deflection, and now we got Connauton fencing, and we could go here. Connauton and Couturier
Well, Couturier's not going to drop the gloves. He's got his stick and his gloves in his hand. Connauton's gloves are on the ice. But Couturier initiated this, and really they had a healthy battle going off to McElhinney's left. Kevin Connauton thought they were going to get in a fight here. Couturier did a good job a couple of years ago in the playoffs with Malkin in Pittsburgh. Now watch here. This is at the top of your screen. See Couturier just those little cross checks across the hand, and there's a good right.
Simmons.
He's trying to just draw a penalty.
Look at this. Simmons and Bull have to be separated. Simmons was talking to Johansson. Johansson didn't back down, but then Jared Bull, the peacemaker, stepped in.
It's exactly what he's supposed to do. Good job on him.
Absolutely. He's had a good game here tonight. Jared Bull.
That'll get the blood flowing for him. They get that little altercation. Step in there and say, hey, I'm your guy. You want to talk to someone. Linesman there just picking himself off the ice. Now he takes a skate, puck in the skate. Now he's getting booed.
Here Hartnell with a shot. Rebound, scores! Jackets again able to restore a 2-goal lead as Dubinsky followed up the initial shot, and he's extended a goal streak to 3 games.
We mentioned the play off the linesman, and then the crowd is booing, but the Jackets hustle up the ice. Watch this play. Dubinsky back to Hartnell, and then where does Dubinsky go to the net? What a play by Scott Hartnell. Look at this play. Bad angle, low shot off the pads. They practice that in practice. Pass off the pads as the crowd is chanting, ref, you suck.
Dubinsky gets assist. Oh, they were booing as the play headed up ice. Jackets didn't give up on it. They were focused and restore the 2-goal lead.
Well, they weren't happy because the referee fell down. It looked like he was hurt. And he's trying to gather himself. Then he gets hit with the puck. And then the Blue Jackets advantage. And watch his play. Dubinsky with that little play slips through. That's a nice feeling for Brandon Dubinsky. And you talk about playing his best hockey. We mentioned it off the top. And he really is. You saw that back check on that goal that Calvert scored. He played it over to Atkinson. And this play here, he had the puck in the middle of the ice, kicked it wide to Hartnell, and then did the right thing and went to the net with his stick on the ice.
Goal and assist here in the 3rd period for Dubinsky. 6:20 left. Now LeCavalier with a backhanded attempt, and the paddle down and the stop by McElhinney. Away goes Artem Anisimov. A left wing feed there. Overskating the puck was Wengberg. Back come the Flyers. Belmar drops it back. Quick shot. Blocked by the Flyers. Belmar dishing, and then he stepped in front. And actually blocked the attempted shot on goal.
How about that sequence, though? Anisimov in the middle of the ice on the initial rush tries to do the same thing Hartnell or Dubinsky did, and then it's gotten broken up and brought the other way.
Chop towards the net. Covered up there by McElhinney. And as we go to break, one more look at Dubinsky, who celebrates after picking up his 6th of the season and 2nd point of the 3rd period. Matt Calvert, who is the subject of tonight's Big Lots Big Play, Jody.
Yeah, he just got the 3-2 goal for the Columbus Blue Jackets. We talked about it, but it's this back check of Dubinsky. Heads up play to get it down to Atkinson, and look at Calvert. The look on his face says it all. He just got that big smile. He's like, wow, that was fun. And now the Jackets have put another one in. It's 4-2 Columbus here. Just under 6 minutes.
To the left of Curtis McElhinney. Interestingly enough, all the goals in this hockey game have been scored at one end of the ice. Let's hope that continues for the balance of this hockey game. 5:42 left.
That's right. That's a good point, Kev.
Jack Johnson. 2-0. Jackets after 1. Flyers tied it up with 2 late goals in the 2nd. Jackets scored the 2 goals here in the 3rd to restore their 2-goal lead. 5:20 left. Reed inside his own zone. Left wing pass there for Couturier. And icing is the call against Philadelphia.
David Savard there. He's had a busy night, and he's spent a lot of time trying to get that matchup as he goes off here. Trying to get the matchup against Claude Giroux and Jake Voracek. So they'll wait now until they come out, and they'll continue to play against them. Heavy minutes. And if you go back to the first period, boy, it was just a solid effort by the defense and standing up at the blue line and keeping the Philadelphia Flyers out of sync.
Hartnell to the point for James Wisniewski. Looking to return the feed and does to Hartnell in the corner. On to Johansson. Ryan Johansson. Back up high. Bump. Flyers able to, as a result, send to the Jackets line. And it's Kevin Connauton. On for Dano. Back for Connauton. Less than 5 minutes left, third period. Pass cut off there by Raffl, but the Jackets dump in. Strike paired with Coburn. Long lead pass here for Jake Voracek. Voracek. Pressure. Tosses it behind the net. Giroux in pursuit. The Flyer captain for Raffl in the corner. Voracek looking to dance out. On to Raffl. Wenberg, nice spinorama move, throws it in front of Goluboff, onto the right wing for Skilly, chips it by the defender, hustles into the corner. Delzato able to block the attempted pass. Anisimov is there, looking to fish that puck free along the wall.
Good job by Jack Skilly. He made that attempt at initial rush to throw it at net. It got blocked, but then he stayed right in the battle there, caused that good scrum.
Goluboff fires it off the glass and up into the crowd.
That was a rolling puck that came Goluboff's way. See Jack Skilly make it off the ice with no helmet on after that good battle in the offensive zone. Listen, late in the game, those are valuable seconds to take off the clock. So right there, tries to get the puck at net, stays in the battle, 2-on-2. Has a chance to get there and catch his breath and maybe get his helmet back on.
3:57 left. Draw one by Braden Shen. Schultz, right wing feed. Flyers dump in. Umberger in pursuit. Savard gets there first. White backhands, but Calvert there for the Jackets. A clearing pass knocked down by Atkinson with a high stick. Play allowed to continue as the Flyers played the puck initially. Luke Shen away from Dubinsky. On to brother Braden, who can't take the pass. Braden now tosses to the right wing. Off the bench comes Voracek. Voracek sends it wide purposely. Played there by Braden Shen. Back to Voracek again. Ricochets off Umberger's stick and wide. Strike steps up. Right wing. Dano using that speed. Dano in off the wing. And juggled by Emery. And then a quick toss.
That started in the defensive zone again. Jeff, it was David Savard with a heads-up play on strike. And then the Blue Jackets forwards from there. Good transition, speed up ice by Dano.
We'll keep an eye on Ray Emery. A 2-goal deficit we see now as Berube's trying to get his goaltender's attention. He has it now. And now with 2 minutes and 37 seconds left, 6 attackers on for the Flyers. Giroux sends it wide. Raffl throws it in front just beyond the hockey stick there of Couturier. Simmons hustles after it. Wisniewski high off the glass and out to center. 2 minutes, 18 seconds left. Couturier will dump in. Connauton looks over his shoulder. Here's Raffl coming. Couturier there to help out. Simmons. Delzato. Cross ice for strike. On to Giroux. To the point. This one flies off the shoulder of McElhinney, and he will cover up. Again, all kinds of traffic in front. McElhinney makes the initial stop and then hangs on.
Good job by Curtis McElhinney. And how about his defenseman in front? You see Wisniewski battling with Simmons. Trying to box him out, trying to give his goaltender an opportunity to see the puck and then keep those guys away from the rebound if there is one. But boy, they're just hanging out there. They're the desperate hockey team, the Philadelphia Flyers, who are 6 points out coming into tonight. They're down by 2 goals here.
There are the shots, and we see the Flyers have attempted 83 shots tonight. They've had 43 on goal, 21 have been blocked, 19 have been missed. So 43 shots and turning aside 41 of them tonight. Easily the #1 star of this hockey game, Curtis McElhinney.
Wow, that's impressive. 83 attempts at net. I mean, that's a lot of work. A lot of rubber thrown that way. But how about all the block shots by the Columbus Blue Jackets? That's pretty outstanding that they've blocked that many shots. And then you go back to the goaltender, Curtis McElhinney, making all those saves.
Many of them are
41 saves.
strong stops here tonight. Dubinsky chops it ahead. The puck rolling on in. Straight back to play.
How about that play by Dubinsky? We've seen him earlier in the season that make an attempt at that empty net, toss an icing, and then a goal.
Here Atkinson sends it over top of the empty net. Dubinsky looking for the wraparound attempt there. 135. That's a great point by you.
Now, I like that, how he just kind of got it out just soft enough that it wouldn't go all the way down the ice.
What happened that night, he did try to score into the empty net. The faceoff came back in Jackets territory and found its way to the back of the Columbus net,
That's
if you
right.
remember.
There was a timeout called, and part of the regular season is the process of learning and getting ready for the playoffs, and you know, these little details, and that's why it's harder to win the second half of the year. And you saw a little play by Dubinsky. Heads up play, boy, I'm telling you.
All rights to this broadcast are reserved, and any rebroadcast, recording, retransmission, telecommunication of the public, or other unauthorized use of the broadcast without the express written consent of the Columbus Blue Jackets is expressly prohibited. A little more than a minute left. Jackets move on to Pittsburgh after this one. A gutty performance. 2 goals in less than 2 minutes late in the second period. Jackets have been victimized by late period goals, and it's hurt. Tonight they bounced back with a big third period, Jody.
Yeah, that was a good resiliency coming into the third period. You know, that the first period was so good. The second period set up for a wild finish here in Philadelphia, but it's been all Blue Jackets on the scoreboard, Jeff.
Calvert with his second of the night into the empty net, and that will ice it for the Blue Jackets tonight. 3 third period goals. Calvert picking up his 9th.
You see Craig Berube not impressed here. You know, they looked at their schedule last week. They had Columbus on the road, and then into Buffalo on the road, and then home for Columbus, and then home against Buffalo. And they thought this was a week to make hay. We're playing teams behind them. But Columbus isn't going anywhere. They're here to win games and take points. And I thought went back to the start here for the Blue Jackets. And then you mentioned the resiliency in the third period to come out and stick with the game plan and wait for their opportunities, and they took full advantage. Some great plays, though.
And some outstanding goaltending.
Back checking, nice play by Hartnell off the goalie. And you mentioned goaltending.
Wenberg and Johansson pick up the assist. Here's Grossman. Flyers playing out the final 20 seconds. Sent up high here to Coburn. Coburn's shot blocked by the Jackets' Letestu. Jared Bull steps to the line. Chops it ahead. Away from Dano. Played here by Coburn. So the Flyers begin a 4-game homestand in which they're looking to make some hay, but not the kind of start they wanted. The Blue Jackets with outstanding play tonight from Dubinsky, who, as we said from the outset tonight, needed to set up and show that leadership in the absence of Nick Foligno, and he does just that. The Jackets with Curtis McElhinney improving his record to 8-3 in his last 11 games since the 27th of November. Look at that smile on his face. He turns aside 42 of 44 shots, and the Jackets win 5.